She packed her backpack before she left. That is the detail that has haunted investigators for 25 years. Not the disappearance itself, not the highway, not the rain and the dark and the 4 in the morning. The backpack. A 9-year-old girl. Valentine's Day, 2000, in the middle of the night while her parents slept, while her brother slept, while the whole house was still, she got up. She packed her things, she zipped the bag shut, and she walked out into a storm. She planned this. That is what investigators said from the beginning. This was not a child who sleepwalked into danger. This was not a confused little girl who wandered out of bed and got lost. She packed for wherever she was going. She chose to go. And whatever pulled her out of that house in Shelby, North Carolina, at 2:30 in the morning, in February, nobody has ever been able to name it. But someone out there can. Because in February of 2025, 25 years after Asha Degree disappeared, investigators reclassified her case. Not missing. Homicide. And then they named suspects for the very first time. And then a witness came forward and said he had been sitting on a confession he heard at a party in the mid-2000s. A woman, drunk, sobbing, saying over and over that she had killed Asha Degree, while her sister stood over her and told her to shut up. 25 years. That is how long someone carried that. Today we are going to Shelby, North Carolina. We are going to walk every step of the night of the 14th of February, 2000, and we are going to follow the DNA, the green car, the drunken confession, and the family, whose name has now been placed at the center of one of the most haunting cold cases in American history. This is Asha's story. Before we go to that highway, before we stand on Highway 18 in the rain at 4 in the morning and understand what 2 truck drivers saw when their headlights swept across a small figure walking alone, you need to know who Asha Degree was. Asha Degree was born on the 5th of August, 1990, 9 years old, in February of 2000. She lived with her parents Harold and Aquila and her older brother O'Brien in a house on Oakcrest Drive in a residential subdivision north of Shelby, a quiet, tight-knit community on the western edge of the Charlotte metropolitan area, the kind of neighborhood where kids walk to school, where families know each other, where nothing like this was supposed to happen. She was a 4th grader at Falston Elementary School, described by teachers and family as shy, a little reserved in the way that some children are reserved, watchful, observant, taking the world in carefully before responding to it. But underneath the quietness was something that people who knew her felt immediately, a sweetness, a warmth. The kind of child who ushers at her family church on Sunday mornings and invites her 2nd grade teacher to her birthday party. She was called Shelby's sweetheart, by her community, by the people who searched for her and never stopped. That nickname came from a real place, from the specific quality of a child who made everyone around her feel that she mattered to her. Her parents, Harold and Aquila, both worked regular jobs nearby. They were present. They were attentive. They had no reason, none, to believe anything was wrong the night before their daughter disappeared. No fights, no distress, no warning signs that a 9-year-old girl was lying in her bed making a decision that would alter the course of every life connected to hers. Harold checked on both children at around 2:30 in the morning on February 14th. Asha and O'Brien were both asleep. He went back to bed. At 6:30 in the morning, Aquila came to wake her children for school. Asha was gone. Her backpack was gone. And the question that has consumed investigators, journalists, true crime communities, and an entire North Carolina town for 25 years had just begun. What happened between 2:30 and 6:30 in the morning? 4 hours, in a house where everyone was asleep. A 9-year-old girl made a decision that adults struggle to understand even today. She packed her backpack with deliberate care, items placed inside, not random, not grabbed in a panic, chosen. Investigators who later examined what was in that bag found things that confirmed she had prepared over several days before she left. This was not an impulse. Something had been building in Asha for days before Valentine's night. What was it? 25 years of investigation has never answered that question cleanly. Her family insisted she was happy. Her teachers said nothing was wrong at school. Her brother had no explanation. There was no trauma, no bullying, no known reason for a 9-year-old girl to leave a loving home in the middle of the night during a rainstorm. And yet she left. She walked out of that house onto Highway 18, one of the main routes running through Cleveland County, a road that connects small communities through dark, heavily forested stretches of rural North Carolina. Not a road that a child should be on at 4 in the morning in any weather, let alone in the rain and wind of a February night. 2 truck drivers reported seeing her. Both described the same thing, a small figure walking along the side of the highway. A little girl matching Asha's description, alone, in the dark. One of those drivers was concerned enough to slow down and check on her. She looked at the headlights coming toward her, and she ran into the woods. She ran from someone trying to help her. That detail has never made sense to anyone who has studied this case. A child who is simply running away does not run from a potential rescuer. A child who is afraid of being caught, afraid of being returned to wherever she came from, or afraid of whoever had told her to go might. What had Asha been told? What had she been promised? What was waiting for her somewhere down that road that felt more important than safety? Those questions lead directly to the green car. A witness reported seeing a young girl matching Asha's description get into a green car on Highway 18 around the time of her disappearance, not a recent model. An older vehicle, a 1970s green car, the kind that was already aging in 2000, a Ford Thunderbird or Lincoln Mark IV, according to early investigative guidance. A green car from the 1970s, on Highway 18, in the dark, before sunrise on Valentine's Day. Who drives down a rural North Carolina highway at 4 a.m. in a green car? Someone who knows the road, someone who lives near it, someone who drives it regularly, at all hours, because their life requires it. And here is the detail that 17 months later would crack this case wider than anyone expected. In August of 2001, construction workers on a project off Highway 18 in Burke County, about 25 miles north of Shelby, found something buried at the site. A backpack, wrapped carefully in 2 sealed black plastic garbage bags, buried, hidden, not dropped, not lost, put there deliberately by someone who wanted it to stay hidden. Inside items belonging to Asha Degree, her belongings, things she had packed the night she left. But also something else, something that did not belong to Asha, a t-shirt, not hers, not anyone in her family's. That t-shirt went into evidence. A DNA profile was extracted from it, entered into databases, compared against persons of interest over years and then decades. For a very long time, no match. And then the technology changed, and the genealogical databases grew, and investigators went back to that t-shirt with tools that did not exist in 2001. What they found redirected the entire investigation. The DNA on items in Asha Degree's buried backpack linked to a family. Not a stranger from outside the community, a family that lived along Highway 18. A family that ran care facilities in the area, transporting patients to and from Broughton Hospital, along the same road where Asha was last seen walking. A family whose green car, a 1964 AMC Rambler, dark green, with front-end damage, was seized by investigators in 2024. The Dedman family. Roy and Connie Dedman and their adult children. Their property sits off Highway 18. Their daughters, Sarah, Lizzie, and Anna Lee, were teenagers in February of 2000. 13 to 16 years old. Old enough to drive that road. Old enough to know it at night. Old enough to be in a green car at 4 a.m. A hair sample found on Asha's undershirt was matched to Anna Lee Dedman. DNA from a separate item linked to a hereditary family member of Roy and Connie Dedman. DNA from another item was connected to a man named Russell Bradley Underhill, a man who had lived in multiple facilities owned and operated by the Dedman family. He died in 2004. Investigators executed search warrants on Dedman family phones in February of 2025, the day before the 25th anniversary of Asha's disappearance. They searched properties. They interviewed family members. They found that one family member, when told about the warrant, immediately made a phone call lasting over 45 minutes to her ex-husband. An ex-husband described in court documents as uncooperative with investigators. The Dedman family has denied any involvement. No arrests have been made. No charges have been filed. But the case was reclassified as a homicide in February of 2025, and the suspects named publicly for the first time were connected to the Dedman family. Before we go any further, I need you to sit with something. A DNA profile on a t-shirt buried in a black garbage bag 25 miles from where Asha was last seen. A green car, owned by a family that drove Highway 18 regularly. A hair sample on a 9-year-old girl's undershirt matched to a specific person. This is not a theory. This is evidence. Evidence that took 25 years of technology improvements and genealogical databases and investigators who refused to close a file that had no business staying open to finally produce. So here is what I want from you right now. Drop it in the comments before we continue. What do you think happened on Highway 18 in the early hours of Valentine's Day 2000? Do you think Asha was lured out of her house with a promise? Do you think she knew the person in that green car? Do you think she trusted them? Because that question, what a 9-year-old girl was promised to make her walk out into a storm in the middle of the night, is the question at the heart of this entire case. Please, subscribe right now. Hit that notification bell. Because this case has a property search in April 2025, that produced results investigators have not yet publicly disclosed. When they do, you need to be here. Share this video, because Asha Degree is still out there somewhere, and her parents have spent 25 years believing she is alive. In September of 2024, a man walked into the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office. He said he had information, something he had been carrying since the mid-2000s, something he had never gone to the police with before for reasons he did not fully explain to the people listening across the desk from him. He said that in his 20s, he occasionally went to bars and house parties with Sarah and Lizzie Dedman. He said at one of those parties he could not say exactly when, sometime in the mid-2000s, Lizzie Dedman had been drinking. She was sobbing, genuinely, visibly distressed, the kind of drunk that strips away whatever composure a person has been maintaining. He said she made several statements, not once, not in passing several times, repeating it. She said she had killed Asha Degree. He said Sarah Dedman became angry, turned on her sister, told her to shut up, in specific language he quoted to investigators. And then the party moved on. The moment passed. And this man, who had heard a woman drunkenly confess to the killing of a 9-year-old girl, went home and did not call the police. And did not call the police the year after, and did not call the police for nearly 20 years. He walked into that sheriff's office in September of 2024. He told them what he had heard. And investigators said in the warrant applications that followed that because of the ages of the Dedman daughters at the time of Asha's disappearance, ranging from 13 to 16, Roy and Connie Dedman, the parents, would have needed to be involved in either the act itself or the concealment of what happened after. That is what the warrant said. A family, multiple members, a green car, a buried backpack, a drunken confession at a party, DNA on a child's clothing, and no arrest. In April of 2025, the FBI and multiple agencies descended on a property in Lincoln County, North Carolina, a property along Highway 274 and NC 182. Multiple buildings on the land. The current owner was cooperative, cleared. The search had nothing to do with them. It had to do with what might be buried there. The nature of the search was not publicly disclosed. What investigators found or did not find has not been released. But the FBI brought equipment. They searched those buildings. They searched that ground. They were looking for something specific enough to justify the resources and the warrants and the presence. And then they left. And the case is still open. And Asha Degree's parents, Harold and Aquila, who have held an annual prayer walk from their home to the spot on Highway 18, where their daughter was last seen every single year for 25 years, are still waiting. Aquila Degree said something to the FBI that has never left me. She said, after 20 years, I still believe my daughter is alive. I do not believe she is dead, and I know someone knows something. I am not crazy enough to think that a 9-year-old can disappear into thin air without somebody knowing something. She said that in 2020, before the reclassification, before the DNA matches, before the warrants, before the man walked into the sheriff's office and said he had heard a drunken confession at a party. She said it from a place of pure, determined, unconditional love. And then in 2025, investigators reclassified the case as a homicide. Think about what that meant for Harold and Aquila. 25 years of holding on to the possibility that their daughter was alive somewhere. 25 years of annual prayer walks and candlelight vigils and media appearances and the specific kind of hope that parents hold when the alternative is too heavy to look at directly. And then the official word came. Homicide. Her body was concealed. She is not alive somewhere. She was taken from that highway, and she was killed, and someone buried her backpack 25 miles away in a garbage bag and went home. The Degree family has handled this with a grace that is almost impossible to comprehend. They have continued the prayer walks. They have continued speaking publicly. They have continued asking the same thing they have always asked. Just tell us where she is. Not who. Not yet. Just where. Bring Asha home. She was 9 years old on Valentine's Day in 2000. She packed her backpack. She walked out of a house where her father had checked on her 2 hours before and found her sleeping. She walked into the rain and the dark along Highway 18 until a green car stopped. She would be 34 years old today. Somewhere in North Carolina, or somewhere beyond it, is the answer to what happened after that car door closed. It lives in the DNA on a buried t-shirt. It lives in the silence of a family that has denied everything. It lives in the memory of a man who heard a drunken confession and waited 20 years to say it out loud. It lives in whatever the FBI found or did not find on that Lincoln County property in April of 2025. And it lives in the conscience of whoever drove that green car. Whoever chose to stop for a 9-year-old girl walking alone in the rain on Valentine's Day. Whoever made a decision that night that changed everything. Before you go, leave something in the comments right now. Tell me what you think Asha was promised. Tell me what could possibly pull a shy 9-year-old girl out of a safe house into a storm at 2:30 in the morning. Tell me whether you think justice is coming for the people whose DNA was found on those buried items. Tell me whether 25 years feels like a long time to carry a secret or not long enough. Because that conversation is why this channel exists. Please, subscribe to the Cold Case Signals. Ring that notification bell. Share this video. One share. One more person who hears Asha's name. One more signal sent down Highway 18 on behalf of a little girl who packed her backpack and walked out into the dark. We have more cases coming. More signals. More stories told the way they deserve. With depth, with truth, and with absolute respect for every person at the center of them. I will see you on the next one.